Welcome to The Real Deal today. What do you do when a stock is going absolutely crazy? It's moving too much. You don't feel confident trading it. You feel like you're going to get stopped out. It's just a moving freight train, but you know the opportunity is there. What you can do is trade the sympathy play. A lot of times, people are always looking for the most exciting name. What is the best thing out there, the biggest gapper, the highest volume? But the other thing you can just look for is maybe the simpler trade. What if you can use that volume, that volatility, that price action, that news to your advantage, trading something which is just along for the ride? So first, you got to establish a few ground rules here as to what is or is not a sympathy play. And you got to have something moving profoundly, ideally on news or just because of some technical reason. So today, there was one example as we're shooting this. We got DWAC. The deal finally has a date. Are they actually going to make this conversion? Yeah, okay, apparently at some point they're going to, but you're gapping up. It's a huge runner, closed in the low 40s, and then you can see at the open it was already gapped and then made a big breakout early in the day. It was holding near 57. So you're talking about something which has already moved 30% overnight and breaking back toward the highs at the open. The spread's going to be bigger. The volume's going to be through the roof. It's running on its own. It's not like trading where you can follow stocks if you're in a chip name, or you can follow the cues if you happen to be in a Mag 7 name and just get an idea of what the market is doing as well. This one is its own market, which is good because it means it can give you that big move and that big volatility. So first, you've got to identify something that moves with it. The good news is, typically speaking, we know with DWAC, a couple of things that move with it are funware, and sometimes you can even get rumble going. So you gotta have a reason. Like in this case, I just observed it in the past, and a lot of people have observed it in the past. Then you want to see, is the relationship holding true? Okay, so you get the news at about 8 o'clock. This breaks out at 8:15. If you look at it, this is just breaking out at the same level, not quite as parabolic, but it breaks at the same time, so it's following along. You actually get DWAC making one high when funware is making this high at 33. Then it makes, at the open, another top of 57. Now, this is where it gets fun. See what I did there? This is where I like this setup even more. Funware doesn't have the direct news here. So anything that's positive for DWAC is, yes, going to drag funware higher, but if there's a lack of continuation in DWAC, you might be able to get a trade here. Because as you're making the second top, hey, what happens here? Funware breaks its high. So breaks that local high at the same time. DWAC fades underneath. Now is making a lower high at the open. Funware at the open is at the previous high. So now you've got an interesting setup because DWAC's got clear resistance at 57, and that's the leader. The follower has overextended itself. And you can be short off the previous level where DWAC was going at 33.25. And even if you take the conservative approach where you short it underneath here and only give it to that lower high, or you give it to 57 breaking, or you give it to that top, all of those roads work. But you've got to remember, I want to see a few things happening here. It's got to be following alongside the other name. The other name has got to be the leader. I need a past history of that behavior. Then I want to have the confluence of a clear rejection or change of direction in the leader and a clear entry point that I can apply in the follower. So that's what the sympathy play is all about. You're just looking to see a turn, a break, something that you can sink your teeth into, where you now have two reasons why I like to get into funware to the south side. And it would have worked the other way too. If you had broken the highs at 57 on DWAC, then I would have liked funware as well. Now, does it always have to be small float? No, it doesn't. Sometimes it can just be one name is leading an entire sector and it has nothing to do with its strength in the sector. SMCI. SMCI is now the poster child for the AI and chip boom. NVIDIA, of course, gets a lot of the headlines because of what they're doing from a fundamental standpoint. But if you've been trading recently, It's SMCI that takes the cake. It's a triple up in a month. It just continues to run higher and higher and higher. And how rapidly this is moving up, it's got 11% short float, it gives you that FOMO that a lot of traders are going to be able to get when they see a stock running like this. Now, where can you take advantage of this? If this is squeezing higher and it has that emotional, psychological feel of leading that AI chip trend, then you can play this looking for extreme moves in SMCI to be able to get reactionary plays in both NVIDIA or maybe in AMD. So if you look at what was happening after the open, it danced around a bit, eventually settled into an upward trend here at about 950. There's something very obvious that happens when this gets to 970. Very, very obvious. You guys can see it here. It was a hammer move. It tried to break the high, make a new high of the day, wicked the same top, and rejected the VWAP in a single candle. This is a 3-minute chart. You can put up a 1 or a 2, and you'd see that that got down there about $25 very, very rapidly, right here at just before 11 o'clock on SMCI. Now, what happened in AMD? This happened in AMD. Look at exact same time when it's trying to get that fresh high, AMD puts in a lower high and then flushes. Now, where this gets even better for a sympathy play than Funware and DWAC is you can identify that AMD is relatively weak compared to SMCI to begin with. SMCI was making lower highs. SMCI was making higher lows and higher highs, but AMD was making lower highs and lower lows. And on top of that, if you were just trading without looking at SMCI, what might you have wanted to do? 178. There's a lower high. It holds once, it holds twice, it's holding a third time. When we talk about confluence or having multiple reasons to get into a trade, this is what we mean. You've got something which has been a bit of a leader in the space, finding resistance and pulling back. You then have a stock which is already trending down and showing you a key level that you can short off of. So you've got 3 things to like for AMD instead of 2. Leaders falling, AMD's already trending. At the point of the turn, you have a resistance level on AMD at 128. So sometimes trading the sexiest name or executing on the sexiest name isn't always the way to go, because you can find yourself some more simplistic setups on something which is not the leader but could just be a follower and is going to react to said leader. I always like to use the analogy, if I'm going to give you a point for every bucket that you're going to hit when you play hoops, and I can tell you, go up against LeBron James, go up against me, or go up against a random person off the street. Nobody's going to actually play LeBron James unless you're trying to pad the ego or have a lifetime story to talk about, because you're just getting paid per bucket. So sometimes it's not about trading or going up against that crazy high flyer or the name that's leading the market. If you can find a sympathy play, you're going to be able to simplify your trading. That's the real deal. And at the end of the day, you're just here for profits. So keep it simple, stupid.
Oh, sorry about that, Ram, but I got excited because he said keep it simple, stupid. So, I just hit the banks. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you very much, Neil, for that informative discussion and very insightful, as always, Adara. While